Hello everyone. So in today's video, I am going to be discussing a topic that I discussed on my Instagram Live, which was entitled From Trauma to the Bible. Essentially, we're going to be talking about religious trauma, ways in which to overcome it, and how to begin to use the Bible again as a non-Christian, but as a hoodoo, okay? So let's get into it. So essentially, religious trauma, of course, we all know what that is, but for the sake of this video, I'm gonna just break it down very quickly. Religious trauma, of course, is any type of upheaval or traumatic experience that has occurred within the religious realm. So it could be some things that you may have experienced while being a part of a cult. It could be due to sexual assault within the church. It could be just a lack of support from the church. It could be many things that caused your trauma religiously, right? So, in true me fashion, I'm just going to share my personal trauma that I had, or hang up that I had with the church in particular. So, for starters, for me growing up in the church, I was always that one kid that was always asking questions. And if you follow me on Instagram, you already saw the little video that I used, because there's this little girl. She was like, Mama, where's Jesus buried? She was like, well, Jesus, he was buried, but he rose from the grave on the third day. The little girl was like, that don't even make sense. That was me as a kid. I challenge everything. I don't care what you're talking about. You got to make it make sense for me. I've always been that way. And I'm not apologizing for it, because that's just who I am. I don't just take things for, here you go, this is what it is, and you're gonna take it. No, I've never been that person. But aside from that, I've always questioned the Bible because of the contradictions. So of course, Old Testament versus the New Testament has always had contradictions within them, and how the church is set up, they try to make it make sense. And a lot of people would theorize that the Bible can be read metaphorically. Some people read it quite literally, and they pick and choose what they want out of it, right? And then others, they try to find like I guess you could say like Christ consciousness type thing. Like, what's the higher meaning? It's a metaphor for this, a metaphor for that. Like, people try to find deeper meaning within the Bible versus face value, because a lot of it, say for example, Songs of Solomon, a lot of people interpret that as poetry between a man and a woman. Others interpret it as the love between God and mankind. So it just is, depending on who you're speaking to, is determines what answer you're going to get in the right. And then outside of the trying to make it fit, just for shits and giggles, right? There's, of course, the blatant disregard for people's finances, like with the prosperity pastors. It's like, give and tithe and this and tithe this, tithe that. That's a whole nother story. But I'm going to talk about that in a separate portion. I'm going to talk about it later. But that sort of thing really didn't rub me well. And then there has been times, not just with the church home that I went to, later on, like around high school years, there has been times where you'll ask for assistance from the church, and you've been going there for probably since you were a kid, and you won't get the assistance that you need because you haven't tithed within 3 months. So, what do you want us to do? Like, how can I help you? Just go ahead and go to the Church of God in Christ and the Lamb of the Tabernacle of the Shepherd down on 87 to see if they can give you some help, because we can't help you. I hated that. And I actually was able to speak to someone that actually went through that, and they had children, and they were literally put out. that's another thing. And then with the disrespect for the LGBTQIA plus community, it really rubs me the wrong way. And I actually witnessed my pastor at the time preach that type of rhetoric during a sermon, and the person that we all knew, because everybody knew who was in the congregation, because of course it's a church, everyone knows everyone's business, or at least they try to. So everyone knew who was straight and who wasn't in the church. So it was a very directed message. They looked directly at them, and they looked directly back at them, and they got up and they left. And everybody saw that they left. And when they left, they were basically just talking shit. When they left, it's like, you see, you gotta get it up out of here. You see what the devil doing in it? Like, what? So that really didn't rub me well. And then on top of that, we all know that the Bible has had many versions of it to fit different times, different narratives. Words have been retranslated to mean other things that do not even come completely close to anything. So I've always had a problem with the Bible in general. And then let's not even talk about the fact that there are books missing. The clear fact that the Bible was ripped from Torah, like, it's so much with this one book, and it just makes me wonder why. Well, it made me wonder why in the world is anyone even living by this book in general. And people, and I always had a problem with the fact that some folks, they felt like they were inherently evil if they didn't follow the Bible or this or that. And they always say, well, Jesus knows my heart. I'm a sinner, but Jesus knows my heart, though. The whole time they're assholes. They're going out doing all kind of raggedy stuff to people and wondering why things are happening the way that they are, and blaming the devil for it. The devil is we all know that the devil is the biggest scapegoat of them all. Like, the devil made me do everything. I have no control over myself. The devil is always working. I had to get up. I had to go. I had to exit stage left, get up out that jam real quick. So yeah, that was just my little bit of religious trauma and what brought me to where I am now, because I can't. But moving forward, with all of those things that came about with my disdain for the church and how they function, because everybody say, oh, well, I'm sorry that was your experience with that church, but that's not all Christians. That's a lie. You may not be overtly, Jesus, like, you may not be like that, but the same ideology, you still hold those same ideologies and that same rhetoric within yourself. And granted, there are people that, like the ones that have, like, gay kids and stuff. They say, hey, I believe in Jesus, I believe in this, but I will for damn sure not abandon my child. I have respect for those people. So, I mean, to a degree, it's like yes and no for me. But aside from that, the way that my trauma manifested itself, I became very cold as far as when it comes to Christianity. I hated all Christians. Like, I couldn't stand them. They would get on my nerves. The you going to hell stuff just really irked me. I used to be friends with someone that was like a Bible thumper. And I just couldn't anymore. And it's like, when I told her, I was like, I'm more so spiritual. She had a big pause. So I kind of just, at one point we were going to Bible study. I just like, I'm not going. It just wasn't giving for me. So yeah, eventually I just became cold. I couldn't stand it. And it took me a while to actually even look at the Bible at all. I had like a lot of Bibles as a kid. I almost threw them out, like literally in the trash. Forget donating to Salvation Army. They were going straight in the trash. If I could burn it, I would. That's how much I was very much tormented just in that aspect. So I was very no, God, no, here comes the Christians. So, of course, eventually, after I did a lot of inner work, I ended up finding my way. Another thing I wanted to talk about was how, and I have my little notes right here. I also wanted to talk about how, aside from, just to go back a little bit, aside from the, of course, hatred of, gay folks and picking and choosing, there's sexism in the church. I also came from a very well-integrated church when I was younger. So we had women pastors, preachers, they would preach on Sunday, all that good stuff. When we moved, it was like no women in the pulpit. The Bible speaks strongly against it. And the very verse that they use 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 11 through 15. But for the sake of this conversation, let's start at verse 9, shall we? It says, likewise also that women should adorn themselves in respectable apparel with modesty and self-control, not with braided hair and gold or pearls or costly attire. Let me tell you, who not wearing gold? Who not getting knotless braids? But what is proper for women who profess godliness with good works? Let a woman learn quietly with all submissiveness. I do not permit a woman to teach or to exercise authority over a man. Rather, she is to remain quiet. For Adam was formed first, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman was deceived and became a transgressor. Yet she will be saved through childbearing if they continue in faith and in love and holiness with self-control. This is saying that women that are wild, no, you cannot have any freedom. You have to submit. Adam came first, then Eve. What are you talking about? And also, the only way that you can redeem yourself for all your wicked ways and being women, your wicked ways for fooling the man, the only way you're going to be able to absolve yourself of such a sin, such a sin, is by way of popping babies, being an incubator for the man. I don't know about you, but that sounds like modern day slavery. Like, we're not doing that at all. I'm gonna remain wild. I'm gonna forever say what the at all times in life. I'm never gonna sit here and do what you want me to do. I do what the hell I want to do. Who are you? And first of all, last time I checked, you came from your mama's poontang. Like, you ain't come from nobody rib cage. Like, make that make sense, okay? Like, I'm trying not to curse. Make it make sense. It does not make sense. You cannot make it make sense. It sounds stupid. Like, I'm going to say what I'm going to say because it don't make sense. It never made sense. And the fact that the entire Bible itself is rooted in control, power, patriarchy, the upholding of patriarchal structures and foot on neck, on a woman's neck to be more specific. Like, no. I reject. Like, no. Like, I can't. And this is just me being extra. And then on top of that, First Colossians is the First Colossians. I cannot think of the verse, but I got it somewhere else. Basically, it's the verse that it's like, slaves, obey your masters, for it is good. It goes something along those lines. That is the verse that they used to keep Black folks enslaved. Like, that was the like, well, it's in the Bible, so if God says it, that's what you got to do. You're gonna go to hell. Like, it was one of those things. So it religion itself was a turnoff for me. I never even considered doing any type of religion. Like, leave me alone. So from there, I had to work through that, and this is me moving forward. So obviously, with all that damn trauma, I had to find my way out of that. And if you were like me or are like me back then, of course, here are 9 ways that I would recommend for you to heal your religious trauma so that you can move from anger to actually being able to use the Bible as a hoodoo and just work through all of that. Because Do you need the Bible to practice hoodoo? No. But I would recommend it because hoodoo has a lot of close ties. Hoodoo is ancestral veneration along with, the different beliefs. But in order for you to connect, because a lot of our ancestors, they practice ATRs. Yeah, our ancestors practiced ATRs, but they also practiced hoodoo and they used the Bible. You have to find that connection and that link. So you have to be able to acknowledge your trauma. So number one, acknowledge your trauma. You have to be honest with yourself about how you feel about the Bible and whatever lies and whatever else somebody has told you, done to you. You have to be honest about that. It's not conducive to your growth. Walking around hating Christians, hating them, looking at them sideways and just saying ugh, and then getting into arguments with Christians about what they believe in. It's like you can't. Everyone's on their own personal spiritual journey, even the Christians. It's a part of it. It was a part of your journey at one point, right? So, number two, own and dissect your triggers. What is it like when you are somewhere and someone says the word thank you, like say the phrase, thank you, Jesus, thank you, God, thank you, Lord, thank you, just thank you. What about that pisses you off? You got to get to the bottom of that. Why are you so triggered when someone says thank you, Jesus? Why are you so triggered when someone says, won't he do it? Like, why are you upset? So you have to dig deep, okay? Number three, integrate both your lower and your higher form, meaning you have a higher self and you have a lower self. You have to find a happy medium between those two. People will call it shadow work. It's the same difference. Like you have to dig and like literally, I would call it ego death. And when I say ego death, I'm saying like you have to literally descend into yourself. Literally. You have to feel everything. When you start to disassociate or when you start to bite the inner part of your mouth or start to chewing, like people got different things that they deal with when they are anxious or when they are not within themselves. They're basically having an out-of-body experience and they don't even know half the time. So you have to figure out where that medium and happy place is between the two in order for you to become one whole again. Number four, define your own moral compass outside of religion. A lot of people feel like if they don't read the Bible, they're going to go to hell, into the eternal abyss of the black void, whatever. No. First of all, we are already in hell. People are unaliving children and women and just people in general just for land and for the sake of this or the sake of this religion. Like it's pretty disgusting here already. So you're not missing anything, trust me. People have this thing where they separate the two when really we're already there. So yes, make sure that you are able to navigate that and decide, okay, and understand, most importantly, that just because you're not reading the Bible does not make you an evil person. Are you going to go outside and, somebody like, no, you're not. For what? No one's going to do that. Number 5, you want to find others that share a similar history and their journey to healing. One thing that I learned when I was, becoming a better person, I had to stop following the shade room. Stop following people that get into fights randomly on social media. Stop following gossip blogs and stuff like that. Like, if you notice, when you get on social media, you can go from the highest of highs to lowest of lows. You can go from looking and, watching a crazy cat video, funny. Like the other day, I watched a golden retriever play peekaboo with a damn chicken. Like, where? And then the next video is talking about what's going on over overseas, and it just goes from the highest of highs to lowest of lows. So you want to make sure that you curate your timeline. You make sure that you want to make sure that if you are following people, make sure that you're following someone that that's adding actual value to your life. People that uplift you, people that motivate you, people that know themselves outside of social media. Granted, you don't know anything about these people through your screen, right? Like, you don't know what people are going through. Some people, half the time, these motherfuckers be capping, you know what I mean? Like, they be lying. So, you don't necessarily know that, but at least figure out use your discernment, is what I'm saying. Use your discernment to determine who is someone that you get something from, that feeds you on a spiritual level, something that's worth something, right? Number 6, be open to heal your wound. How many times people choose to stay angry out of victimhood because it's so familiar to them. And they would rather choose victimhood and anger over healing themselves, because understand this. Love is a very strong emotion and a very high frequency. Hate is a very strong emotion and a very low frequency. So, depending on where you are on that spectrum, determines how much work you got to do. So you have to make a conscious decision to want to heal. I literally almost got caught up in being a victim to circumstances out of my control and within my control. Don't understand anything else. Understand this. Choose your peace of mind over victimhood, over sadness, over depression, over all of that. It's supposed to be you over everything, to be honest, okay? Number 6, discover who or what God means for you. So people tend to, like I mentioned earlier, people tend to think that if you don't practice Christianity, you are a fucking heathen. Excuse my language. You are a heathen. And you don't believe in a higher power, which is actually false. I still call God to this day. Sometimes I'll say, higher power or the divine. I'll use little fancy bubbly words like that. But at the end of the day, for myself, me and my house, we still believe in God, okay? But not that one in that book that got all them issues and need counseling. I don't. You right, I don't. Not that one. You want to define what God and who God means for yourself. Hey, and even if you don't believe in God and you kind of like, I don't know, that's cool. That is your business. No one else can tell you how to work your spirituality. Like, that is all of your business. That's just like going to an OBGYN visit with you. Like, that ain't none of your business, okay? So yeah. Number 7, seek therapy if needed. If you need help, reach out. You have to learn to ask for what you need. Closed mouths do not get fed. It applies in this scenario as well. You have to be honest about what you need. If you need therapy, you need therapy. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean that you lack anything. It just means that you need someone to help you navigate your emotions and your thoughts in order for you to find peace of mind, right? And number 9, lastly, trust yourself, think for yourself, and trust your instincts. A lot of folks that tend to transition from religion, of course, with them already having to work through their own religious trauma, they have to begin to rely on their own understanding, lean on their own understanding. And that can be hard for some people. And I'm just going to be honest with you, coming from religion, a structured format where you were told how to do stuff, how to live and how to be in order to be prosperous and etc. You have to figure out what that means, and then on top of that, you can fall and like you're leaving a safe haven or community of people. So you become prey for cults, to be honest with you. You become prey for people to sell you community, sell you, oh, we're like-minded individuals, and then they swindle you out of money. Like, that shit is very much real. I've been through it. So yeah, like, you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to be able to trust who you are as a person, and know that regardless of anything, there's someone out there that had the same shared experience as you. That is why I mentioned earlier that it is important to find people to follow on social media that have the same type of background, history with, like, y'all have shared experiences. That's going to help you. But even when you do that, make sure you use your discernment, because you can find people that don't mean you no good. Trust me. So just to wrap everything up, aside from working through your trauma, you want to make sure that if you are trying to become more into using Bible magic, using the verses for different things, you want to make sure you incorporate your ancestors. Make sure you create an altar, because your ancestors ultimately are going to help you navigate through those different changes and different phases as it pertains to going back to. And when you begin to start working with your ancestors and just working with the Bible in general and reading it and getting reacclimated to it, because of course, no matter how much you tried that train up a child in the way he should go, even when he is old, you will not depart from it. Still in your head. You see how I remember that shit? Like, it sticks with you. No matter how much you try to get away from it, it's going to stay with you. So why not try to integrate, right? Give your ancestors grace. They're going to give you grace, because they know, they understand. They're not going to sit here and be like, oh, look at her, she over here worshiping Jesus and shit. Like, they're not going to do that. They might, depending on what ancestors you work with. But for the most part, they're not going to be so harsh to judge, right? They understand. And then when you get to the point where it's like you're comfortable, you're reading to understand and interpret the terms, the verbiage, all of this stuff, you get, reacclimate to everything. Then you can start, reading it, context clues. Okay, I'm reading it. You got to go back to English Lit 101 with this one. Context clues. What is this sentence saying? Read it verbatim. What does this say? What can you interpret it as? Is there any allegory? Is there any metaphors? What is this verse saying? And I think that's what trips a lot of people up. They don't read what the fuck is on the page. So once you get past that, then you can begin to work with the Bible and use it in your works. Like, mojo bags, different ritualistic candles. Like, you can use the Bible in your working once you understand what you're working with. You feel me? So just to be on the same page with you, I do research when I do things. So I'm like, if there's any other people that you know of that was the first to do this, please let me know. But Nat Turner, Gullah Jack, the first two that I found that were using the Bible for, because Bible magic, essentially hoodoo in general, birth out of oppression. They use this book as a means to an end. So once you understand how to use it, read the verses for what they say and try to fit it where it would fit in your practice, then you are cooking with grace, basically. But thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this, let me know. Give me feedback. Let me know what you thought, what you would like to add to it. This piece here it was more expounded upon in this video, of course. But I talk about this plus more inside of the Esoteric Bible Study class inside, good God, inside of the Moonstone Energy Coven. I talk about this plus more inside of the coven with this topic. And I also talk about the verses, talk about everything, right? Aside from esoteric Bible study, I have also taught the Entity, Servitor, and Spirits Masterclass, which is basically how to work with different spirits and different things of that nature. There is a tarot school, the Gifted Tarot Academy. I teach you how to read tarot intuitively. I also teach the Hoodoo Divination course, which is inside of the coven, along with the esoteric Bible study. Which is essentially teaching you how to read playing cards. So I am a busy woman. So if you are interested in learning any of those topics, moonstonenergy.com. And then on top of that, I'm going to be talking about debunking spiritualities. That's another one that's coming in relation to the topic that I just spoke on. So make sure that you are a part of the mailing list. If you are not, make sure that you go to the links and get yourself together. But thank you so much for being here with me. And I will see you in another video. Bye.